Hello, everyone. This is Highlander from MTG Cardsmith doing another custom Magic the Gathering card review, and I got my special guest with me today, Islandsnake.
Hey everybody.
And we are reviewing a card by Suleman. This is a Borderlands card, a Borderlands reference card. Neither I or Island are super familiar with Borderlands, so let's see what we got going on here. We got
Moxxi's like a fan favorite.
Is she okay?
Yeah, people
Moxxi,
like her.
Queen of Hearts. I like her name. That's a cool name. Two black red for a 4/3. Legendary creature, human artificer rogue.
Eclipse into the thing.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Unplayable.
Don't worry. We'll get we'll get there. All right. Let's just read the whole card. Equip creatures you control get +2/+0 and have lifelink. Whenever you would draw one or more cards, you may instead reveal twice that many cards from the top of your library. Put up to one equipment card and up to one rogue card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Okay.
I like this.
You like it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a unique effect. I think I've never. I mean, I don't know that many Magic cards.
Excuse me. It is a unique effect.
I'm a little bit worried that you're going to say that it's like not really like a black red effect, but I think it's kind of like a black effect, right? Because there's like a lot of sacrifice.
I mean, you can reveal
graveyard.
You can reveal top cards in like every color, so like that part doesn't bother me. And red usually cares about equipment.
Okay, fair enough.
So like that's fine with me. And really the only black part about this card is the lifelink. But okay, so let's just dissect this one for a minute. So first of all, yes, I gotta call out this right here. Okay, so I'm very adamant that card presentation matters a lot. Okay, and here's a perfectly good reason why that's the case. So remember, just like 2 minutes ago or whatever, when we were reading this card, Island immediately said eclipses into the icon, right? And what that means is that this is distracting. This is very distracting, and it distracts from your card's design, right? So, like, I understand that you want to fit, like, I mean, this is obviously a cardsmith issue, right? Like, in normal Magic, you could just make this text smaller, and all these types would fit. However, you have to work with the constraints that you're given, and constraints are actually a good thing. Especially for designs. So in this case, I would just leave off one of these types. I would either make her a human artificer or a human rogue. Probably a human rogue because she cares about rogue cards, right?
Yeah, artificer doesn't come up in the card, so I think you gotta drop that.
Yeah. So it's just important that your cards. Hold on, let me turn myself down a little bit. I think I'm a little too loud. It's just important that your card's presentation does not distract from the design. It should enhance the design. Okay, so that's my whole spiel on this. Okay, so getting into the actual card. Oh, sorry, that's my dogs. This is definitely a unique effect. I find this to be really neat. I don't think I've seen this before where like, well, I've seen something similar. So let me pull up. Underrealm Lich, I think it's called. Yeah, so this is kind of similar. If you would draw a card, instead look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Okay, so this is somewhat similar in the sense that it replaces your card drawing effect with a like better version of a card drawing effect where you get to look at the top cards. Okay, now here's my issue though with this: is Underrealm Lich can never miss. Okay. You will always find a card. In this case, there are some major disaster scenarios here. So, for example, let's say you're going to draw your card for the turn, okay? And you say, okay, I'm going to use Moxxi's ability, and instead, I'm going to reveal the top 2 cards of my library. Now, if there's no rogue or equipment in there, which is actually very likely, it's very likely that I'll see 2 lands or, a land and a creature that's not a rogue, okay? Like, okay, I get you want to like build your deck around this, but I'll talk about that in a minute. You could potentially just not draw a card for your turn. You could lose your draw step, right?
Yeah.
So that's like really feel bad. Now this kind of gets better once you start adding card draw cards into your deck, right? So like let's say you don't let's say you don't do this for your first draw set because it's so dangerous, right? But you play like a draw 3, right? Now you look at the top 6 cards, and you could potentially get 2 cards out of the deal. So you've turned your draw 3 into a draw 2, except you're kind of getting to pick, you know, sorry, you're sort of getting to, I guess, pick the cards out of the top 6, the 2 cards, except they have to be rogues or equipment. All right. Of course, you could also miss in that case, and your draw 3 could do nothing. Okay, so that's my real danger with this card, because think about it this way, right? So on your draw step, you are, if you use this ability, you are very unlikely to hit both an equipment and a rogue. Very, very unlikely. Now, you may hit an equipment and a rogue, or equipment, excuse me, and or a rogue, so you may get a card out of it, but your chances are also pretty low of that. Now, if you just stuff your deck with equipments and rogues, and like that's everything in your deck, right? That's kind of the ideal scenario. But even then, you could just reveal 2 lands and just completely miss, and now you haven't drawn a card for your turn, right?
That's true.
Now, you might say, okay, well, put some card draw on your deck. Well, once you start putting card draw on your deck, you now have fewer equipments and rogues in your deck. So it's like now your chances of hitting go down because you're putting card draw in your deck, right? Now, sure, there's probably some rogues that draw cards. There's probably some equipment that draw cards, but I think you understand what I'm saying, right?
I think the one thing here that really, so I actually like the effect. I think it like, I would hate it if you didn't have a choice, but you have to choose to use the ability. So
Yep.
let's just assume if that ability didn't exist, this card still has some value. Equip creatures you control get +2 and have lifelink. That's not a bad effect.
That's a pretty strong effect, I would think. Yep.
So even if you don't end up using the second part of the card, it still has some play. I will say that I think the limit on being able to uh, only get one equipment card and one rogue card, it should just be you can get up to 2 equipment and rogue cards, so that you can find 2 equipments, you can find 2 rogues. Then then the effect is a little bit stronger, so there's
Yeah,
less of a chance to miss, and also that like it would be a real big feels bad if you actually find 2 rogues and you have to put one of them away.
yeah. I mean, even that doesn't really solve the issue, though. Like, I would love to see a version of this card that just can't, like, just completely screw you. That's my main issue, right? Like honestly, I would rather see this card have just an activated ability where it just says, you know, pay something, look at the top X cards, reveal, you know, you may reveal up to 1 equipment and up to 1 rogue, put them into your, and then put them in your hand, otherwise in your graveyard.
How about this though?
I just think
What
that's
if
better.
what if it was like this? Whenever you would draw a card on your draw step, and so it is nerfing the ability. Instead, you may draw 2 cards, reveal these cards. If these cards are rogue or equipments, you can put them into your hand. So it's like you get to, and if not, you put it back on top of your deck. So basically, it's
Both
like,
of them?
well, no, you get to keep. I guess in that case,
So okay, so maybe you're thinking
something
of
like that.
maybe you're thinking of something like this, right? At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library, or the top 2 cards, let's say.
Mhm.
You may put any number of equipment and or rogue cards from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom.
Yeah,
So it's like every turn you just get to look at the top cards and find an equipment and or a rogue, right? And I think that's actually a better version of this effect, personally. Like
yeah. I think
it's
the idea was like you can skip your draw phase to just like shuffle 2 cards you don't want to the bottom.
yeah,
Uh, but I
yeah,
guess it still kind of messes up your like momentum if you fail the effect, but it's not as bad as it putting it into the graveyard.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I just think like, and okay, and like, you know, somebody else might say like, oh well, just, you know, make use of your graveyard. But then again, you're putting more cards into your deck that aren't equipments and rogues. So
the
I
thing
I
I
just
like about this card is I want to keep the like replacing your draws. I think that's a cool mechanic. So if there's a way we can have this like situation where I would draw a card, but because this card's on the field, something else happens, and like keeping that effect going, I think it is really cool.
Well,
Like
I
we
I
could def
agree, and
yeah
that's
we
why Underrealm Lich works, right? Because this card can never miss. It's basically just taking draw a card and turning it into a much better variant of draw a card, right? It's saying like,
maybe yeah maybe we can make it like this effect, except you can only like you get the one card every time. But if there's an equipment or rogue card, you can put that into your hand as well.
maybe I think it would get a little kind of complicated at
Ridiculous
that
then.
point. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think this card is like uh, this is a situation where you're trying to do something unique, and I applaud you for trying to do something unique. You know, I mean, obviously it's been done before, but it's not a very common thing. You don't really see this very often, right? Um, so I applaud you for that, but I think in this case it just doesn't work. And in this case, I would much rather see
Simplified effect.
a more templated effect, something that's been done before, but is tried and true, right? Like I said, like revealing cards on your upkeep or paying to reveal cards, rather than this where there's some sure there are definitely some scenarios where you know on your draw step you instead get to draw two cards because you reveal a rogue and equipment, but like
What if you just always drew two cards? Like this whole like whenever you would draw one or more cards, you may reveal twice that many cards. I think that part, if it what if instead of it only affected your draw step? Like it didn't affect like if you played like a sorcery to draw cards. So it would be like, okay, at the beginning of my turn, I draw two cards. I reveal I can keep one and then I can reveal the second one. And if that second one is a equipment or a rogue, I can put it to my head. If not, it goes either to the bottom of the deck or the graveyard or whatever.
sure. I mean,
And
there's a lot of different ways you could make this card work.
yeah,
I just think in this current case, like
it's just too risky.
it's very like the variance is just really high on this, right? Like sometimes you'll get to draw two cards on your draw set, but like in that case, just play like Phyrexian Arena. Like just play a card
Mhm.
that does that just draws you two cards a turn, and you don't have to like have this like major deck constraint, right?
Do you
Like
think that the fact that the card is still pretty powerful, even if you don't activate this ability,
I
means
don't
that this the second ability can be like kind of bad?
no, I mean this is first of all this is a mythic, and I don't think like
It has a mythic
it.
like
I mean, yeah, okay, giving equipped creatures +2/+0 and lifelink is pretty powerful, but it's not like insane, right? Like,
no.
I mean, the thing about equipment is like, okay, if you're drawing equipment, you're not drawing creatures, and if you're drawing creatures, you're not drawing equipment. So you're not gonna have like a bunch of equipped creatures on the board. It's really hard to do that. Like, you're generally gonna have like, I don't know, maybe two equipped creatures in a lot of cases. Like, I mean, okay, I'm not a commander player, so maybe in commander some crazy things happen and you end up with like a bunch of them. But like my point is that you're gonna have fewer creatures, so you are more vulnerable to removal, and therefore like this effect is strong, but it's sort of a win more. It's like if you have an equipped creature, your creature's already doing great, right? So
True.
and this doesn't really help you in situations where like that's kind of the danger of playing with equipment is like they could just kill your creatures and then you could just run out of creatures and you don't have anything to do with your equipment. So I'm not saying this is a bad ability. I'm just saying like this ability I don't think would be enough to carry the card.
Fair enough.
So yeah. So anyway, like let's we've been talking for about 15 minutes about this card. So what rating do you give this one?
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I still like it.
Okay.
I think the effect is pretty unique, even if it doesn't like super like even if it's not super good. It's just like it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean I
So
agree that it's interesting. I just think I don't like the fail case here. It's just too risky. there's so many times where this will just fail on you. There are some times where it'll work for you, but like then you're when it basically like the payoff you get for this working is actually not high enough for the risk you're taking
That is fair.
get the
If they went up to the battlefield like or something,
that
would
might
be
that might be different. That might be different. But
Yeah.
in this case, yeah. So I have to give this one a 3 out of 5. The idea is there. I just don't think the execution is. So, all right, that's our review of Moxxi, Queen of Hearts.